East Greenbush Central School District Board meeting to order. We have all of our board members here with the exception of Mr. Mark Mann and Ms. Michelle Skomersky. We're going to start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to begin our meeting with our ex officio student council comments and presentations.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a wonderful summer. For those who may not know me, I'm Cole James Hardy, Columbia's Executive Student Council President.
And I'm Natalie Cristanda, Columbia's Executive Council Vice President.
Today we had our first student council meeting of the year. We had over 100 students attend. We were able to discuss upcoming events like Spirit Week, Pep Rally, and Homecoming. We voted on all of our dress-up days and started to put together decorations for the dance. This year, to improve homecoming court, since Columbia was one of the only schools in the capital region still participating, we came up with the idea of Blue Devil of the Year. This will basically be an application-based process where students will be able to apply based on their individuality, academics, community engagement, and their extracurricular activities. Anyone who is on the committee this year, as of right now, will be announced at Pep Rally and the homecoming football game. Then the winner will be announced at the homecoming football game, escorted by any person of their choosing in semi-formal attire, and will be awarded as the Blue Devil of the Year. We strongly believe in this decision to make this change because it became more of a popularity contest in which more people were being bullied and brought down instead. Last year, we also saw participation drop low with only 13 votes for one of the winners. So now, especially, is the time to make that change. Next, for student council, that is you, I'm so sorry.
Next, for Student Council, we will be preparing more for Homecoming, Spirit Week, and Pep Rally by buying decorations, making signs, posting on our social media, and getting our peers excited and involved. We also hope to plan more events to give back to our community as Students' Homecoming has come to a close. Keep an eye out for our bridge painting designs, which we will be starting soon, and also keep an eye out for any other events we might have going on by following our Instagram. The username is @ColumbiaBlueDevils.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the approval of the draft minutes. I think everybody was here last time. Is there a motion to approve the draft minutes? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Steinbeck, all in favor? Motion passes. All right, moving on to the board forum. I'm going to start on my left with Ms. Van Orton.
I'm all set.
All set.
Yeah, I just want to say that, today's 9/11. Over 20 years ago, a lot of people lost their lives, and a lot of people gave their lives in defense of this country. And I just want to respect, remember those people and family members and what they did for us as a country. So.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Second, Mr. Buno comments. I have nothing, Ms. Turner.
Okay.
Let's go, Brian.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say I hope the back to school went well for everyone. And I know that, the board spoke about, reducing what we ask of families to bring in on the first day to contribute and making sure that the district can provide to the teachers in the classrooms what we can and not ask that of families. And I hope that, that went well for the classrooms and the teachers, and hope that, the district is providing what we can so that teachers in the classrooms are set off on the right foot, and it's not on, on the families as much as possible. So thank you for that. And, if the board, can help with anything in that in the future, happy to, discuss that. So thank you.
We have put in a process in place where we've asked our principals to identify the needs And Jennifer Mulligan is coordinating that process to make sure that all the needs are getting met.
Thank you.
All right, and moving on to our public forum. Going to read this statement. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which may be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Excellent. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yes.
Before we begin public comment, I wanted to make some remarks regarding a number of emails that our district and our Board of Education has received from community members in recent days. I want to thank the members of the community that are here who sent in and expressed their views, and I also want to thank those that were unable to be here. Be assured that the district and the Board of Education has read and reviewed those emails. We welcome communication from our community members regarding issues which impact our students and which impact our community. We expect that there are a number of attendees this evening at the meeting who would like to participate in public comment. We appreciate that. We welcome you, and we wish to hear your views. In reviewing some of the communications that we've received regarding the lacrosse program, it appears there may be some confusion that we would like to address. The East Greenbush Central School District is not affiliated with, nor does it oversee the operations of the Columbia Lacrosse Club. Columbia Lacrosse Club, as most of you know, and as we understand it, is an independent organization which provides beneficial programs and athletic activities to our youth within our community. The East Greenbush Central School District, its administration, and Board of Education do not make decisions, however, regarding the program, the schedule of activities being offered by the Columbia Lacrosse Club, including the Fall League. Nor does the district provide any funding for the club. We provide use of our facilities through the district's community use of facilities policies. Decisions regarding personnel, funding, and the schedule of activities offered within the Columbia Lacrosse Club are not determined by the East Greenbush Central School District. In short, the East Greenbush Central School District does not operate or control the Columbia Lacrosse Club. Thank you. Now we'll take public comment.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Jody Day. I'm a 1994 graduate of Columbia High School and have been an East Greenbush resident most of my life. I have a son who just graduated from Columbia and a daughter currently in 10th grade. The reason why you see a large presence of lacrosse families here is to show their support for varsity boys lacrosse coaches Greg Sherwin and John Keller. Greg and John were recently given poor evaluations by the athletic department and told their coaching contracts will not be recommended for renewal. We are all extremely upset and shocked. The poor ratings noted in their evaluations are largely unfounded, as you have probably read via those emails, and what you will likely hear from the community tonight. I'm asking the board to please take a serious look at how this came to be. How could a coach's evaluation be so off the mark and completely shocking for them, as well as the people who have direct experience with them? Was this really the best solution for a perceived problem? Most importantly, who made the decision? And what was the motive here? Does the board feel that this is really in the best interest of the students and the athletic program? Something is fishy, and I'm asking the board to take a very close look at the circumstances behind this situation. Greg and John are the definition of dedication when it comes to coaching a team. They have always had the kids and the school's best interest in mind. And as you can see, they are widely respected and loved. Greg is my brother. They deserve much better than this. Before I pass the mic to the rest of the folks that want to talk, I would like to respectfully request more time during these public forums tonight.
Hello, my name is Buck Delam. I'm a senior at Columbia High School. I'm going on my 4th year as a varsity lacrosse player for the Blue Devils.
And my name is Tucker Ellis. I'm also a senior, and I've been part of the Columbia lacrosse program for more than 8 years.
We are here today to tell you that Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller have been outstanding in leading the Columbia lacrosse program over the last 6 years. We are asking you to renew their contracts so they can continue to grow the program. These coaches have invested countless hours into the lacrosse program, helping us become young adults and ready to contribute to our community.
I want to start by saying that Coach Sherwin is not only a great coach, but a great man. He works to bring our lacrosse community closer, and he treats us like family on and off the field. His motto is, and has always been, together, which you can see on the back of our shirts today. There's been several occasions where he's taken time out of his day to prepare a stick for me on short notice. He takes no benefit from this, and when offered money for his time, he says to keep it because that money will just go back into the program. When someone doesn't have the gear they need, he will make sure they get the equipment, even if out of his own pocket, no questions asked. He makes sacrifices like this daily to the program. Before Coach Sherwin came to Columbia, our off-season training consisted of joining the Averill Park program to practice with them and their coaches. In other words, we had no off-season practices or tournaments available to us.
Coach Keller has been a great assistant coach for our team. He is always pulling kids off to the side and explaining what they did wrong and how to correct it. During the winter, some players wanted to shoot. Coach bought us an hour at an indoor facility. He would do anything for us to get shots up. He has a huge passion for the youth program. He is always talking to me about the things he does with them, whether it's beating Niski in a game or how he's implementing the varsity offense into the plays. On a personal level, Coach Keller has helped me so much with my college recruiting process. He has made calls to help me get in contact with coaches. He has also given me advice to help me find the right path to continue my future in sports.
That being said, without these coaches, the program wouldn't be the same. We are confident that no one can do a better job. As a team, we think this decision is disrespectful, and we ask you to give us answers on how this decision was made. I don't ask for anyone to follow in my footsteps. However, I would not like to be a part of this team if these two men are not a part of it. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Ben Delamater, 56 Troy Road. I've lived in East Greenbush since 2008. I have 2 boys in the lacrosse program. We're all human here, and humans make mistakes. And trust me, I've made my share of them. But a terrible mistake had been made in failing to renew the contracts of head coach Greg Sherwin and assistant coach John Keller. Sherwin and Keller are not only great coaches, but they are passionate and caring men who have mentored hundreds of boys over the last 6 years and are invested in not only making great players, but producing fine young men who contribute to our community. They've also made some pretty great lacrosse players, and they're in the Division 1, 2, and 3 levels right now. And we'll have more here as well. Few are aware that lacrosse is actually a three-season sport. And even though it's on the club level during the fall and the winter, these men are investing hundreds of hours, thousands of their own dollars, just to prop up this program. We have 10 weeks in the fall. We have 3 tournaments, indoor workouts in an indoor facility that they pay for. You have to have a stick in your hand all season long, all year long, to be a great lacrosse player, and they know that. And they've really invested both their time and their money. They hand out free equipment to children who cannot afford that equipment. No questions asked. Kids head to Greg's house and know that there's equipment in the backyard. They're constantly heading to Greg's house to get sticks, balls, nets. Greg has probably spent 100 hours just this season, probably on my kids alone, stringing their sticks. I've routinely seen John hand out $100 bills to the players so that they can go rent facility and get indoor workouts when it's snowing or it's raining. Really, this is a decision that affects hundreds of people in this community. And I implore you to reverse this. If you don't, this will literally set back the Columbia lacrosse program for years to come. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jen Mara. I've lived in East Greenbush my entire life. I have 4 children who are 2 currently in the district and 2 that have gone through. I have a son in college right now who desperately wanted to come home and speak on behalf of his coaches, but he couldn't be here, so I promised him I would read his letter. He's also emailed it to all of you, so thank you for your time. Good evening to all the Board of Education members and other administrators that are there tonight. Thank you for taking the time to read or listen to this letter. I've never written a letter to the school board. I had a great high school experience with both my teachers and coaches, and I appreciate everything everyone does to make our schools a great place to learn. So thank you for all your work and dedication. I am writing to respectfully request that you reevaluate the decision to let Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller go from their positions as Columbia varsity lacrosse coaches. I am sure that this decision will negatively affect hundreds of kids in our community that love lacrosse. Please consider investing more time to look at the big picture and reflect on what the true issue is. I do not know the volunteer coach who was brought on, but I do know for sure the integrity and the character of my coaches, Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller. They have done nothing but go above and beyond their roles as coaches by making positive connections with us players and growing the Columbia lacrosse program both in our school district and in our community. I'm not going to pretend that I have knowledge of all the background details and reasons for letting Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller go, but I am 100% sure from personal experience that both of my coaches are some of the best and most dedicated leaders I've ever known. I believe leaders make people feel valued and inspire them to want to be better. Coach Sherwin is the definition of a great, impactful leader. He leads by example and balances dedication with teaching us on and off the field. Playing for Coach Sherwin for 4 years, I watched him always take the high road. He stressed to us the importance of being great people first, and then the best players we could be. He held us accountable, and we always knew he had our backs, on and off the field. He taught me the value of learning from mistakes. I'm not proud to share that I let him down during a winter session game by not showing up one time and also not reaching out to him to let him know I wouldn't be there. I went skiing instead. It was out of character for me and I felt awful about it. Guilty, really, because I usually showed up to everything. Coach Sherwin was always at everything, and as a player, I wanted to show my commitment for my sport by being there too. Apologizing to Coach was hard because I knew I had disappointed him, and I never wanted to disappoint him. I told him I never wanted to let him down because he definitely never let me or anyone else down. Coach listened to me, told me I could never let him down, and also told me not to forget how I was feeling because it would help me make a better choice in the future. He made me feel that I had shown up when I apologized, and that was what was most important. I learned that one mistake didn't define me, and all the good things I consistently did were what made Coach appreciate me. To me, that's what a great leader does. He creates relationships with his players so they have so much respect for him that they don't want to disappoint him. A great leader holds players accountable on and off the field, and when someone makes a mistake, they build them back up. Coach always praised us and motivated us by telling us what we were doing well, but I will never forget how Coach made me feel when I messed up. Because of this, I will always show up in life, and I hope in some way this letter demonstrates me showing up for Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller today. Coach Keller has also had a profound impact on me. Being a goalie, you really have to put work outside of regular practice. Growing up, I had a close relationship and lacrosse bond with my uncle. He was a long pole, so we would talk about the defensive side of the game all the time. I lost my uncle to cancer and missed, among many other things, my lacrosse connection with him. When Coach Keller came to help our team, I learned that he played lacrosse with my uncle for Columbia. They were friends, teammates, and graduated together. I felt a little closer to my uncle again through my connection with Coach Keller. Coach Keller was always willing to shoot up with me, and he always made himself available. I could text him and ask him when he had some time to work with me, and he always made himself available. I'm sure he had many other things to do, but Coach Keller gave hours of his own time to meet me at the turf, shoot on me, and give me tips. Coach was always so generous with finding spaces for us to practice in and just encouraging us to love the game. He would pay out of his own pocket all the time just to give us an opportunity to rent out a local indoor facility and go play. I could give so many more examples of Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller's leadership, but what stands out to me is that they are so much more than coaches. They make connections with us players, and we know how much they genuinely care about our team, community, and specifically us as individuals. I was fortunate enough to play multiple sports in high school, and I can honestly say that every coach I had is an amazing person. I can also say that although every coach I had was dedicated and supportive, no one put more time in off-season and to our larger community than Coach Sherwin. Coach puts on a summer camp for younger kids and invites older players to help coach. He's a big believer in teaching us to be role models for the younger kids and for us to learn the value of giving back to our community. Coach Sherwin always has our team registered for competitive fall and winter tournaments and the Winter Friday Night League so we can get better. And everyone is invited to play. Not every player shows up, but Coach always does. Coach Sherwin has done nothing but give our lacrosse program all and any opportunities to participate and get better. He is a leader in the Columbia Youth Lacrosse Club, our town feeders program. No one in the town of East Greenbush has done more than Coach to help grow the sport of lacrosse here. And just as a side note, he doesn't have a son. His dedication is selfless, and I can't imagine any other town in the area having someone more dedicated for all the right reasons. Coach fosters encouragement and welcomes everyone. Everyone is invited, and all you need to do is show up and work hard. Whether it was staying after games with a couple of the guys and Coach to talk about what went well, what went wrong, and how to improve, or making sure we always had the needed protective gear to be safe, Coach Sherwin always has the player's best interest at heart. He could not do more to grow the community's lacrosse program, and he always wants us to be the best people we can be above everything else, including lacrosse. With family and together as his motto for our team and program, there are traditions and expectations, one of which was to visit seniors with Coach Sherwin towards the end of the season to celebrate and deliver lawn signs, posters, and a gift. Coach taught us the lesson that people around us matter. He gives people chances and he finds the value in everyone. He always stressed that our team was family, and relationships in life are what are most important. You show up for your family, whether it's on the field or off. I am respectfully asking the board to look at this issue, valuing what we have that is strong, and that definitely includes Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller, and then strengthen what needs to be strengthened. I respectfully ask you as board members to show up. Show up for our community, our school district, our lacrosse program, and two of our best coaches. Please reinstate Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller and be the leaders you are by showing that a problem can be solved by reflecting and making the things that need to be fixed better. This doesn't always mean dismissing people. It sometimes means looking within to make things better. Thank you again for your time and all that you do for our schools and community. Jack Mara, class of 2023.
Good evening. My name is Michael Moren. My family and I moved to East Greenbush in 2020. We relocated from across the river. With our oldest daughter, Skylar, about to start kindergarten, and the addition of our third daughter on the way, finding a new home was crucial to us, and East Greenbush was a top priority due to its highly rated school district, our friends, and community connections. We settled in the Janae school community, and despite the challenges starting kindergarten during disruptions of COVID, the Janae staff provided exceptional support. Skylar also joined the Columbia Youth Lacrosse program, where he saw firsthand the dedication of Greg Sherwin and the coaching staff of this program. Their commitment to the simple but profound rules of being a good listener, a good teammate, and having fun deeply impressed us, as this is the same message that we try to live our lives by. The commitment and passion of the coaching staff has been pivotal in building a strong, supportive team culture. This commitment has not only been seen by myself and my family, but as you can see, so many in our community, and I assure you, in our surrounding communities. If this current decision stands, there is a real risk of losing that enthusiasm and engagement, and worse, we will be robbing our children of the best possible opportunities. When we attack our most passionate individuals and we do not support them, we will silence them. Don't let us lose these two individuals because of the failure of the district's hiring process. Please work together to find a solution to this. I urge this board to listen to our community and act in the best interest of both the Columbia lacrosse program and the East Greenbush School District as a whole. Please reinstate Greg Sherwin and John Keller to their roles at the Columbia lacrosse varsity program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sierra Pizzola, and I speak on behalf of my grandmother who wasn't able to make it tonight. Her name is Shirley Hicks, and she lives at 2450 Craft Road. She has put 3 daughters through East Greenbush schools, including my mother, Lori Hicks Pizzola, a 1986 graduate. She writes, in 2011, my granddaughter was a student athlete at Maple Hill High School. She was undertaking her Girl Scout Gold Award, the highest achievement in Girl Scouts. Her goal was a $20,000 project to rebuild the varsity softball field at her school. At the time, it was nothing more than a dirt clearing with benches. We called on Johnny Keller, knowing of his commitment to youth sports, and asked if he would be willing to help. Johnny, his father, and Keller Construction stepped up beyond our greatest expectations. They donated their time, equipment, and resources to excavate the site and help us spread the new material. The Maple Hill girls softball program has since hosted thousands of female athletes on that field, thanks to Johnny Keller and his dad. Without their help, the project would have been well beyond reach for my daughter, or my granddaughter, me. Sierra earned her award and a National Girl Scout scholarship for having one of the top projects in the country, thanks to Johnny Keller, and that was part of the foundation for her acceptance to Syracuse University. Fast forward to 2018, and my grandson was a varsity lacrosse player at Christian Brothers Academy. He wanted to improve his skills, and he knew of Columbia's lacrosse legend, Johnny Keller. He asked if we thought he would work with him, and I knew that John was running his family company and raising kids of his own, so I made no promises, but I asked, and Johnny could not have been more enthusiastic about helping somebody in our community. Johnny worked one-on-one with Anthony not just for a day or a weekend, but for years, and Anthony not only grew as a player, but as a young man, and Johnny became an important part of his circle. When he went off to college, Johnny stayed in touch, checking in and encouraging. Anthony graduated from Marist College and lives in New Jersey, and he's beginning a new career path. And despite all of the teachers, the coaches, and the administrators and professors in his life, he has asked Johnny Keller to be his character reference. The incredible part about Johnny is that he never seeks out credit, thanks, or recognition. And that's because investing in others, particularly his student athletes and the ones here tonight, it's embedded in his character and an ordinary part of his day. But we know that he is extraordinary, and there's so many other stories that you've heard tonight about Johnny like ours. It saddens me to think that any member of the school district would set out to disparage Johnny's reputation, much less question his character. As community members bring you matters like this, I hope that you take your role as members of the district's checks and balances system seriously. I hope that you remember that you have the power to hold an executive session and call into that executive session the members of the community who can provide a more clear picture of the facts, a precedent that the Catskill Central School District Board of Education set for you just last month. I hope that you remember that you have the power to ask questions, to launch an investigation, to make decisions for yourselves, to question the decisions of those you supervise, and repeal the decisions within reason that you find to not be in the best interest of these student athletes. I hope the board will reconsider any decision to terminate Johnny Keller's affiliation with Columbia's lacrosse program. It is future and current student athletes like these students who will lose the most. Our schools and sports programs need more people of character like Johnny Keller. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
How about those testimonials? for two outstanding individuals. I'm sure everyone in this room could provide the same type of positive and informative recommendations and notes about these people, okay? I think you understand that. I've got a few prepared remarks I'd like to say, but I think you get the gist of how people feel about these two gentlemen.
Good. Could you state your name, please?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. Thank you. Yep. Greetings, school board members and Superintendent Simons. My name is Stephen Montano. I am a resident of East Greenbush, a taxpayer, and a supporter of every school budget vote, despite not having children in the school district. I do participate in many wonderful events at the various schools that my nieces and nephews attend. I've only got a minute or two, but I did want to start out by commending you all for a fine job running a large, complex school district. And I look forward to the upcoming capital improvements that I was notified about at a previous meeting. So congratulations on that. I'm here tonight to discuss what I'll call the firing of two talented and dedicated longtime lacrosse coaches, Greg Sherwin and John Keller. You know, I've been to a couple of multi-million-dollar budget meetings and only a couple of people show up, okay? Look at the crowd that you have here right now. It's a testament to how much people care about these people and want to see them continue as part of the program. I think people are concerned that a big mistake has been made. And from what I know, I believe one has been made as well. The board owes the concerned public the specific details that caused the termination of such committed coaches and leaders. I am not aware of one complaint ever made against them in all the time that they have been involved in this program. I have witnessed how the lacrosse program has steadily grown with opportunities for all ages, genders, and skill levels under their leadership, with the help of many volunteers and assistants. It's inconceivable to me that grounds for dismissal could have developed so suddenly. As far as I know, no interviews with affected parents, players, or assistant coaches took place. Maybe they have, but no one knows. Was this the sole decision of the athletic director? Was he instructed to fire them? Please let us know. Additionally, no plans have been disclosed on how this valued lacrosse program would continue and grow in the future. Experienced lacrosse coaches that care as much as these two gentlemen do are not easy to find, and East Greenbush families deserve the best. I urge you to listen to the voters and parents and reinstate these two coaches. Do it for the kids. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Ketzer. I've been a resident of East Greenbush for the past 16 years. I have two children currently enrolled in East Greenbush schools, a daughter attending Columbia and a son in Goff. I'm here to speak in support of Greg Sherwin and John Keller due to the recent news of their contracts not being renewed for coaching this upcoming lacrosse season. Our family has been part of several lacrosse clubs in the community over the years, and from day one, we could tell East Greenbush Lacrosse Club was different. We entered the lacrosse community 4 years ago. Our son had John Keller as his coach, and has remained that way to this day. John has been a pivotal role model in our son's life. As a parent, John is who you hope for in a coach. Our son was shy and very hesitant starting lacrosse. With John's support, guidance, dedication, and commitment to the kids, program, and his team, our son has not only grown greatly on the lacrosse field, but his whole confidence towards all aspects of life has been changed for the better. The news of being removed from coaching at the high school level has been heartbreaking. We as a family are really looking forward to continue to watch our son play and grow on the lacrosse field under the coaching of John and Greg. In this day and age, it's hard to get kids involved in sports. Also having adults willing to commit their time, not only do these two men do that, but they went beyond. There are countless times I experienced John and Greg in their spare time helping kids out or create extra opportunities for them. Some examples of their dedication to the development of our kids are winter pickup games at Athens free of charge, fall and winter program opportunities, extra tournament opportunities on and off season, parent night out to strengthen our lacrosse community and families, summer camp, endless hours of practice on and off season, and countless hours restringing sticks. Not to mention new gear being given to our kids by these two men. Removing Greg and John from the program will 100% negatively impact our kids and the future of East Greenbush lacrosse. As a parent, I've had to reevaluate and go back on previous decisions that I've made for the better of my children. Tonight, I hope you, the school board, can do the same and reconsider the coaching positions of both Greg and John. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Mary Kinley. I had a whole prepared speech for you, but after listening to all of these speakers before me, it's all the same thing. And if you truly did read all of the emails that have come to you over the past couple of days, none of this should be a surprise to you. It is so extremely rare to find a coach who is constantly putting the student athlete first, who is so completely dedicated to their sport and their program that they're willing to dedicate essentially their entire lives to the development of that program. And we had two in the Columbia lacrosse program. Can you even imagine how rare that is? And those are the two people that you have chosen to let go for reasons that seem pretty unfounded to me, go against everything we all know these two men to be, and certainly is not in the best interest of our student athletes. This decision has been heartbreaking for the community. And I know that sounds a little dramatic and maybe a little emotional, but Greg and John truly are the heart and soul of Columbia lacrosse. And I am certain if you are to keep this decision as it stands, this program will never find somebody who is so dedicated to its development, who is so completely dedicated to our student athletes ever again. Thank you.
My name is Adam Bell. I live in Nassau. I graduated in 1984. I have a son who plays lacrosse. He wrote a letter. He couldn't be here tonight, so I just wanted to read it. He says, first off, I want to say that I wish I could have been there tonight in person to support my coaches. They've always supported me through the years. Sadly, I could not, so please, my dad will read what I have to say. I'll start off by saying that Coach Sherwin, Coach Keller, and the entire lacrosse program at Columbia have been nothing but absolutely inspirational in caring for me since the first day I met them in 8th grade fall ball practice. Coach Sherwin has been a very important person in my life, even more so than he probably knows. When I was going through my college application process last year on a survey, it was a question something along the lines of who was someone who has inspired you in your life? The first person to pop into my head was Sherwin. He's always been there for me and the team, whether it was to get a stick strong or for recruitment tips. He never turned anyone down. He constantly tried to build the community and improve our younger players. Coach Sherwin is a great leader and a pillar in the lacrosse community. He was constantly sacrificing his time for us to set up fall ball tournaments, practices, winter practices, and after-school lifts. Everything that everybody's been saying consistently. But above all, he cared about our lives outside of the sport and teaching us to be successful in life. He always preached discipline, pride, and hard work, which speaks to his character and is why I will always look up to him. Coach Keller as well, and the rest of the coaches were at his side to help out through many years. Although I never got to work closely with Coach Keller, the offensive coach, I could see he shared the same care and pride in coaching as Coach Sherwin. The lacrosse community that all the coaches have worked so hard to create at Columbia, unfortunately won't be the same without them. And I doubt Columbia will be able to find a group of people better suited for the job. Adam Bell, class of 2025. Thanks.
My name is Katie Sherwin, and I am Coach Sherwin's wife. We have 2 daughters that attend East Greenbush School District. I've been married to Greg for 19 years, and I've known John Keller for 22 years. So everything that is said tonight, I could not emphasize anymore. I could not say anything that would accurately describe my affection and my strong support of these 2 men for this program. Sitting in this auditorium tonight, I think it's clear that the entire community feels the same way. They all think highly of Coach Sherwin, Coach Keller, and the importance of the lacrosse program to our student athletes. Their excellence as coaches, contributions to the development of these student athletes, and the importance to this community and the sport of lacrosse are undeniable. So how did we get here? Well, the original speech that I wrote called out everyone who participated in this injustice, and harshly. I listed all their infractions and every detail of poor decisions and unnecessary escalations, but I don't want to say those things tonight, and I can't say those things tonight. I know that saying those things won't make you take action. You need to do this investigation on your own to see how wrong this whole incident was. So what are the checks and balances when an administration makes a reckless decision and ignores the policies set by this board or the best interest of these students? The board must investigate how this happened, the egregious abuse of power, the failure of leadership, the discrimination, the demonstrably false employee evaluations, the absence of care or concern for the student athletes and this athletic program, the lack of following appropriate policies and procedures for the hiring of employees, including the lack of a practical vetting policy, and the ultimate railroading of these 2 coaches. And I know that these are not light accusations. If I were a board member, I would be voting no confidence, and I would be looking closely at the actions of the involved individuals because I believe that they are a liability and an embarrassment to this district. Their poor judgment and rash decisions have now put you, the board, in the position of having to clean up their mess because these coaches deserve better. This community deserves better. And these students deserve better. The administration and the board work for the students, the parents, and the taxpayers of this community. And the purpose of your jobs is to serve in the best interest of these students. The administration has failed us. We sincerely hope that you do not. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Cresic, Lake Road, North Greenbush. I've been a member of the area's lacrosse community since 1989. I've had the honor and privilege to play with, and unfortunately against, John Keller. When you look at a lacrosse player, he is the epitome, from the physical to the mental to the spiritual, of what lacrosse should be. I've not had the opportunity to be on the field or associate with Coach Sherwin like I have Mr. Keller, but I know, based on the information that has circulated throughout the local lacrosse community over the past few years, that Columbia was finally back in the right direction. They had leadership, they had a feeder program, they had young kids who heretofore would probably be playing Little League or soccer or something else, interested in the lacrosse program. And as an old guy playing lacrosse still, the Columbia alumni that I play with always were saying, program, just got to get it back on track. Coach Sherwin and Coach Keller have done that. And also, as a member of the local lacrosse community, I know the inside story going on here. And it's ugly, but this is a scapegoat action. You can't just wipe the slate clean. You can't just wipe the slate clean by cutting off the head of the monster, okay? It's gonna grow back, it's still gonna be there, but hey, things get silenced for a while. But the reality of the situation is this hurts the program, this hurts the school, and this hurts the individuals involved. So please revisit this issue. Understand the diamonds you have in the lacrosse program for this school district. And just be strong enough to say, hey, we have to revisit our own guidelines and fix them so a situation like this does not happen again in the future. Thank you.
Good evening. Victor Pizzoli, you heard from my daughter a few minutes ago. I have the whole thing typed out too. I'm not using it. Can I get the team to stand just real quick? This is the future of Columbia lacrosse. This is Columbia lacrosse, and the future is here. This is the next Coach Keller. This is the next Coach Sherwin. Somebody in here is going to do that. Everything has been said tonight that I would want to say. Guys, you can sit. Thank you. Everything's been said tonight that I want to say, with one exception, and this is the harsh truth. Somebody's going to take them and use them against this program. Some other team is going to be like, oh, we need those guys. And it's going to decimate these guys, and they're going to pull from this program. My son did not go here. My son was a CBA kid. Johnny and Greg were instrumental in helping him. Johnny especially with his recruiting. He was recruited as a Division I athlete. John worked with him on his own through thick and thin. I'm going to trump the last guy. I've been in the lacrosse community since 1980, and I don't look that old, I know. But John, I have feared since 1990. So I was a goalie. He was an attackman. I have 4 top players. They go Gate, Purnell, Powell, Keller. Those 4 guys. Those 4 guys wreaked havoc. And right now you only have 1 coaching, and that's back there. And I implore you, please keep those 2 guys here. Thank you for your time.
I want to say thank you for the public comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Leidenberg. I am a member of the community since, well, pretty much the whole time. Class of '86, sent 2 kids through the program, through the school, and we've heard a lot of great things about John. But you know what? The one thing that you guys haven't seen in the back, how many people from how many different age groups are here to support this program? And I even see coaches from other schools. I see Shaker, Shenandoah, Hoa. They're all here in support of our program. Now, I promised John that I would be the good Steve tonight, and I'd be very respectful. And what you're doing is horrible. Anytime, John and I have known each other forever, and we've done a lot of business in the town, and all of it's been to help our community. And anytime I needed something, Johnny was the first one to go, I got that. Oh, you need a piece of equipment? No problem. Along with everybody else up and down the strip. And if Johnny didn't have a piece of equipment, it showed up. And if he couldn't do that, he threw money at it. Just like he rents areas for these guys to go play on his own time. So what you're doing today is a travesty. It really is. Because every reason for me for playing lacrosse for as many years as I did with, class of '86, we were the sectional champions, right? Right? That was the only one. I know. But this is our up and comers. And you guys are cheating them. And it's not fair. Please consider what you're doing. please look at what you're doing, reconsider. Thank you for your time.
We appreciate the comments from the public. And I just want to say just briefly that your comments are not missed. We definitely hear and acknowledge the community concerns. Personnel matters are difficult. We are limited to how much we can address, but we share the same interests as the community to focus on the kids. And that's all I can say about the personnel matter. So moving on, we're going to go to school opening, and we have reports and presentations from our superintendent of schools.
Thank you, Mr. Temple. I just want to reiterate my thanks to those that came forward this evening in public comment. I appreciate, maybe we'll give a little time to those that want to leave before we talk about the school opening.
All right, we're going to resume the meeting. Going to reports and presentations with our superintendent of schools, Mr. Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Temple. I want to thank the students, the parents, the community, and the teachers and support staff for a very successful school opening. We are in our our first full week, our second week of school. I'm very proud of all of the work that the teachers have done to be welcoming and supportive of our students as they came back to school last week. The classrooms are very attractive and beautiful and inviting for the kids, and they did a lot of work starting really in mid-August to prepare for our students. So thanks to the teachers, support staff, and as well as our administrators for a successful opening. I want to ask for the public to be a little patient with our transportation department. Typically within the first 2 weeks, we try to work out issues that have caused our buses at various times to be late. Typically within the first 2 weeks, there are a couple of factors that contribute to that. One is we have many new students that register late August, early September. It takes some time to get those students assigned to a bus. We're working through that process. We have a number of new bus drivers who, while they are oriented to their bus routes, the length of the route, the time frame of the route increases when they're actually picking up the kids, so they have to work through those various issues. There are adjustments that are made to the routes themselves and some of the bus stops that have to be worked through. And there are numerous special transportation requests that come in that have to be considered in terms of the locations that the students are being picked up at being different than the drop-off point. And all of that processing takes a little time. So I think we're working out the kinks. Again, I just ask for the public to make us aware if there are any issues and for patience in allowing our transportation department to be as responsive as they can be. Very proud of our buildings and grounds and custodial staff. Our grounds look terrific. Our buildings look terrifically maintained. I did share with the staff on opening day that when new families register with the schools and want to visit the schools, they often compliment the maintenance and the appearance of our buildings and our grounds. So thank you to our custodial maintenance staff and ground staff for all that they do to get the facilities ready. And we're off to a good start in our classrooms, and we're going to continue to make sure that we provide the best quality education to our students and be as responsive to the community as we can be. I'm glad that everybody's back. So thanks to everybody for a good school opening. I want to talk about a new initiative that we have in the school district that has been rolled out to our faculty and staff on opening day. The board is aware that last year we had a committee of parents, students, teachers, support staff, and administrators and board members work on a vision for our students once they graduate. That vision is referred to as a portrait of a graduate. That process identifies the skills and the attributes that we want to see for everyone that graduates from our high school, no matter what path they take. Whether they choose to go to a 2-year or a 4-year college, whether they choose to pursue some type of technical training, or they move right into the workforce. We want to make sure that there are 5 important skills that they will demonstrate no matter what the situation and no matter what their career path. We call it the Portrait of a Graduate. We're hoping that this Portrait of a Graduate will be utilized to inform our curriculum development, our courses, the professional development we require of our staff, as well as our extracurricular programs, all working together in the same direction to make sure that we have a vision of what the skills are that the kids need regardless of what they pursue. And I asked Mr. Stiles to outline the Portrait of a Graduate because it's something we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about within our district and also at the board and community level. Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. So as you had said, the portrait really is going to give us a great opportunity to go beyond just that rigorous academic content and really start being more intentional about the learning experiences that we want our students to have that will provide them those additional 21st century skills that we know our students are going to need as they go beyond graduation of high school, whatever that may look like for them. So the design team worked really hard to narrow down to 5 skills or competencies. Those 5 are confident learner, effective communicator, being adaptable, empathetic, and a critical thinker. So we're going to work really hard this year with all of our different stakeholder groups, our administration, our faculty, our staff, our families, our students, and work with our education committee to start laying out, what does that look like for us in terms of communication to our students, our faculty, our families? What does that begin to mean for us in terms of curriculum, and all the different aspects that it's going to hit. So I'm really excited about our Portrait of a Graduate. As you can see, the visual up there is really nice. We've got that out to all of our faculty on opening day, and we plan on that, being something that you're going to see in all of our buildings throughout the district. So again, very excited about moving forward with our Portrait of a Graduate. I think it's going to be a great thing for our students. And again, it really gives us that opportunity to continue to stay focused on the strong academics and content that we need, but then really start being more intentional about those skills that we've identified that we also want, that we know our students need to be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles. Any questions from the board regarding or comments regarding the Portrait of the Graduate? Some of our board members were involved in the development of the portrait.
Yeah, I'll just say I was part of the development of it, and it was really great to see different members of the community come and have input, and I really enjoyed that process, that this wasn't created by a few individuals, but really by voices of across every school and every, community, parents. One of the things, though, that I feel, I feel very confident in, these skills, but I would love if we could think about maybe having periodic updates on the implementation of this. I think that it's really goes to the school levels, the school buildings, the leadership at the schools, how we're talking about it. And also, we've talked about it's important that this goes across all the spans to extracurricular, to athletics, to, all the clubs. And so I would love if we could have periodic updates throughout the year about the implementation of this, what's going, and happy, to hear any, barriers or concerns, that folks have in regards to implementing this. I know that part of what we heard in the planning session was that, in fact, what does this mean for, a kindergarten classroom? And what does this mean for, a different club? And so I want to make sure that we're taking that into account. And I would love if the board could hear periodic updates.
Thank you.
I have a comment also. So I definitely love the idea of Portrait of a Graduate. We've been supporting it for a long time now. One of the thoughts that just come to mind for myself is different student eventual destinations for students. Like what does that look like? Like what does Portrait of a Graduate look like for an art student or a science student, or one that's just going to plain be a community member? So I like the idea of a less of not such an intense focus on academics. In my mind, Portrait of a Graduate is focused on a more rigorous path for a wider range of possible student outcomes. So I just think just a focus on what are those variety of student outcomes. So when we say critical thinking for arts, or critical thinking for a community member or science, or just thinking about our student population and the diversity of outcomes, just how does that look? And I know also we spoke about using data to find ways to measure how successful we are in those individual categories. Just as time goes on, and I know we're developing, but just to keep in focus that we want to end up at a data component for saying, how successful are we at arriving at critical thinker or effective communicator? So just over time, just to keep that in mind.
So in light of Mr. Temple's comments, just about pathways and about different ways to measure these skills in different types of courses or different types of outcomes that the students are pursuing. The New York State Education Department, approved by the Board of Regents, has a initiative regarding changing the graduation requirements in New York State public high schools and looking to broaden the pathways and opportunities that kids have to demonstrate their skills. Right now, for example, all students have to take 22 credits. They have to pass 5 Regents exams in order to be able to graduate. They're looking for more flexible options, and the Portrait of a Graduate is also part of the State Education Department's initiative regarding changing the graduation expectations. So what we're doing here and what we've been talking about today kind of fits with the state direction, and we're a little bit ahead of the curve on that in having these discussions. The State Education Department is also scheduled some forums in the region which are being hosted by Questar 3 BOCES, and we've sent out some of that information to the high school. We're going to have students participating in one of those forums, and we're working with Mr. Adam to put all that information out. So the state wants us to weigh in on these new recommendations for making graduation more flexible in terms of ways that kids can demonstrate their knowledge. We've talked about personalizing learning, and this initiative is a way to begin to think about ways that we can personalize learning and tap into kids' strengths. And so this is an exciting initiative locally, but it's also going to be part of a bigger statewide process. And I think we're trying to position ourselves to be well prepared to lead in that area.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, moving on to capital project planning, Mr. Simons.
Just briefly, we had a meeting with our construction team today. We have a meeting with our capital project steering group tomorrow evening. We've been developing the plans and specifications for different phases of our capital project, which is approved in May. As I've said at previous meetings, the first phase of the project is replacement of the Columbia High School roof, replacement of the outdoor basketball courts and tennis courts. That project has been submitted to the New York State Education Department for approval. We're hoping that'll be approved in time to begin to do the construction in the spring. At today's meeting, we talked about the Phase 1B, which is the work on the fields behind the Goff Middle School, including the new artificial turf field, a baseball field, and improvements to the grass fields. And we also invited Helen Squatchy, the principal at Red Mill, to come to the meeting as we talked about Red Mill, which will be part of Phase 2, including the upgrade to the library, media center, the replacement of the heating and ventilation system, the air conditioning system, as well as some safety improvements within the building. So the steering committee will hear about the details of that tomorrow evening. We're moving forward, and everything is coming together really well. We have meetings with the library media specialists as well to get more input into the library designs in all of the schools tomorrow and Friday. So more to come.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. All right, moving on to discussion items, our board retreat of September 4th, 2024.
Just wondering if the board had any comments or feedback from the retreat. There were some areas that the board talked about with the support of the school boards, New York State School Boards Association. You talked about having some short-term goals for this year, but also a community engagement committee to begin to involve the community in shaping more of a long-range vision and long-range goals. New York State School Boards Association has resources for onboarding. We have new board members and how we can do a better job of making sure that we are supporting new board members in fulfillment of their roles. And we also have a need to look at our procedures for the everything from committees to establishing board meeting agendas, et cetera. The resources have been sent to the board. I just wondered if anybody wanted to, just for the purposes of the public, comment on some of the good work that we did in the retreat.
I'll just start by saying, the timing was really fortuitous for a new board member to have orientation like that and have a retreat so soon was really great. Really good way to just become much more familiar with our roles and sort of right and left flank for what we should be doing and whatnot. And I just in one of the attachments on the sample questions for the survey and the community engagement, I think is a great start. One thing that I just think it's important that we focus on is asking about how our community members receive communication. Like, what is that mechanism and the means? And just make sure that that's an important thing that we're asking, because it might tailor the way we engage with community members moving forward. But I thought the retreat was great, and thank you so much for those who organized.
Thank you. So we'll be following up and asking a couple board members if you'd like to serve on that committee to look at that survey and help us to develop. The idea was we were going to form a small committee to develop the survey with some outside support. So we'll be following up. If anybody's interested in doing that, let me know.
I also wanted to just comment just quickly, being in public session. So with the board retreat being where, we kind of create the structure of how we're going to move forward with the goals, short-term, long-term goals, and really trying to mesh it out. I just wanted to just say just briefly, really similar to Portrait of a Graduate of focusing on just data and reporting, and I think that if we could begin thinking about how we move forward, materializing, our short-term goals and our long-term goals, which I know is on all of our radars, but just to reiterate that, and, absolutely.
So taking the feedback from the retreat as well as the prior public discussion we had regarding the goals, Mr. Stiles and I and our central office team is working on a kind of a framework that we'll probably share with you at the next board meeting, a draft of what we talked about in terms of short-term goals and kind of consolidating some of the goals for you to take a look at, inviting your feedback into that process.
Before we move on, I just also want to say that, I think the retreat was very helpful in thinking about not only how we want to engage with the community more and in what way, but also that, we did a lot of discussing on our internal how to do better as a board. And I'm really looking forward to developing, the procedures for us that drive our work as board members, and then also new board member onboarding, so that hopefully when new members come on, it's a smooth process. And I know that the beginning of the year is a stressful time for everyone, and hoping that we can ease that as the new members come on. So looking forward to that procedures and the onboarding as well as the engagement. I'm not sure if those will be different committees or how that work will look, but making sure that that's not forgotten as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on to our next discussion item, goals, community engagement, new board member onboarding. You prefaced us and Board of Education procedures. So we probably could, unless anybody had anything.
What are you thinking on a time frame, Jeff, in terms of the central office team, the short-term goals and?
Next board meeting.
Okay.
We'll have something for you to take a look at.
Okay.
See if it captures the discussion of the previous.
Maybe that's enough time for you guys.
Yeah. And I would probably reach out tomorrow to see what board members may want to be on that committee, and maybe we have the same group look at the procedures.
I know, I was going to say, I unfortunately had to miss the retreat. I wanted to attend because I know it was well planned and we had someone from NISBA coming, but I'd be interested in being on the committee, even though I wasn't part of the original discussion.
Very good. Thank you, Jen.
All right, moving on to overview of fund balance and funding reserves. Ms. Mulligan?
Thank you. At our last board meeting, I presented our results, preliminary results for the 23-24 fiscal year, and where we were looking at where we were at in terms of fund balance. Part of the real property tax law provides that we do not exceed a 4% limit of unassigned fund balance. At the last meeting, I had put together a proposal as to how we would address funding a surplus in excess of that 4% limit to ensure like the health of our operating reserves and to be able to bring that into future budgeting where we may be able to utilize that and come up with a plan for utilization. We did have some feedback at the last board meeting. I made some adjustments to that reserve plan, so I just wanted to briefly go over that. At the last meeting, we did have a contribution to the capital reserve fund of $400,000. There was a discussion about possibly pulling that back right now in light of our capital project going on. So I have removed that from the proposed funding. I re-looked at our workers' compensation reserve fund, which basically is a fund set aside to address workers' compensation claims. So I did take a look at what kind of case reserves or liabilities we had with that and saw an opportunity to align that reserve fund more closely to what our outstanding case reserves are on that. With the reduction of the capital reserve, I did take another look at what's called as the EBLAR reserve, which is the Employee Benefits Accrued Liability Fund, which is available to assist in paying for leave payments as a result of termination. When I say terminations, it's retirements, things of that nature. Somebody leaves and has a vacation balance. So I looked at that in relation to the liability and saw that maybe that was a better opportunity to fund that, as that has more ability to be flexible to appropriate that in future budget years versus a capital reserve. I made a slight change to the teachers' retirement system reserve fund, just bringing that up slightly by like $9,000 just to the maximum limit. And I maintained the bus purchase reserve funding and also the updates to the tax certiorari reserves. So I didn't know if any board members had any questions on that. I also provided a little bit more guidance on the last page of the memo, page 6, that showed a little bit more what our annual operating expenditures are in those areas, just to provide a little bit more information, and then also a little background on what the outstanding open case reserves on the workers' compensation, our EBLAR liability as of June 30th, 2024, and then also what we're allowed in terms of reserve balance under the teacher's retirement system. So a little bit more information for your review on that. So that's just the discussion on the proposed funding of the reserve. Under regular business, there are 5 separate resolutions to fund those reserves based on that proposed plan in this memorandum.
Thank you, Jennifer, for taking a second look at that. I appreciate the change in the plan, and I support the direction we're going in. The one thing I would ask too is last year you put together kind of a long-range plan about how the reserves are being pulled out for budgetary purposes, that nice big spreadsheet that you did.
Very big spreadsheet.
Very big. And I wonder if you revisited this based on this plan, what that picture, if that picture starts changing. So down the road, you get closer to budget, I'd be curious to see if that changed some of the kind of the projections that you made, given this new funding level for some of the reserves.
Yes, that would be something we would be
Thank you.
looking at.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Any other questions? All right. So moving on to our regular business, we have approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Are there any questions on this? Do I have a motion to approve? Ms. O'Brien, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor? All right, motion passes. Everyone approves. Moving on to liquidity monitoring and treasury analysis. This is the contract with 3+1?
Yes.
That's okay. And is there any questions on the contract? All right, is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Steinbeck, all in favor? And, okay, all right, also all in favor. Motion passes. Moving on to resolution to fund the 2018 bus reserve. Are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Turner, is there a second? Ms. Van Orten, all in favor? All right, everyone's in favor, motion passes.
Can I just add a comment about the bus purchase reserve, a related topic? The board is aware that we approved a resolution last year in the event that we received grant monies to give us the option to purchase EV buses. We only received one of the two grants, and it isn't sufficient to make those purchases in a cost affordable way. And the other one is on a wait list. So given our timelines, we're going to move forward with the purchase of regular diesel buses and hope to continue to look at this issue in the future. But we don't have, the resolution was written in such a way that we had the authority to purchase EV buses if both of the grants were received by the district, and only one has, and we're on the waiting list for the other. Is that correct, Jim?
Yes, that's correct.
Jeff, is this the focus of the superintendents, either at the Questar BOCES or even the Suburban Council folks, about how we get to, or even the business officials, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
How we get to this place, because, you know, this looming deadline and all this funding issues and infrastructure issues. I mean, people are doing it some kind of piecemeal things just to kind of experiment, but.
Yes, we've had meetings among all the superintendents in the 23 component districts with state education department officials regarding the challenge of this.
Sure.
We've been through the Suburban Council talking about it. At the Niskus Legislative Committee, it's one of our top 10 legislative advocacy topics. Still very unclear as to how we're going to meet this mandate. The biggest hurdle, while the state is providing the money, to some degree, the challenges regarding the power necessary to be able to charge the buses and the infrastructure changes that you would need to be able to make to your transportation facilities are very cost prohibitive. And it's the source of the power. National Grid is telling us they don't have the power to provide what's necessary. So there's a lot of layers of complexity and to meet that mandate. So it's still not clear that we have a pathway forward as a public school district or any public school district and how we get to that mandate.
And the state education department had put out a survey to all school districts in New York State for early August
were.
to understand where districts were in that timeline. So I'm assuming they're going to be gathering that data to be able to really assess, you know, where the state position is on that.
And we did respond to that.
And we did respond to that.
More money, more money.
Just a question on the grant, the one grant that was received. Can you repurpose that funding, or is it, like, I guess what happens with that one successful grant if the other one doesn't?
So I don't have all the finer details with me, but I understand that that funding is available perhaps through December 2025. So one of the things that we'll be looking at is with our next proposition in May, we'll be revisiting that. Myself and Dr. McQueen will be taking a look at that in conjunction with our bus provider to see how that could be incorporated. Also, if for some reason, a chance that that wait list comes through, there might be a different, another opportunity. And then obviously this is evolving, so the funding is evolving as well, so.
I mean, I know it's tangential to the resolution, but I just want to make sure that it's in the record that, you know, this is a big ticket item down the road. And it's going to impact the communities pretty heavily if we don't get some relief or at least some clearer guidelines or timeframes. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so I digress a little bit.
Big ticket mandated item, right? Yes.
For those that may not know what the mandate is, I'll just repeat it. By 2027, according to the law, districts can no longer purchase diesel or gasoline buses. And by 2035, your entire fleet of buses has to be EV. We have 102 buses. So it's a difficult mandate to meet from logistics, costs, and other factors. So we've asked the state to modify it, and so far they've come up with a program to help us with the funding, but not to relieve us from some of these other concerns and problems that are associated with it.
I'm just curious, Chef, so Mr. Simon, so just in between like the price of a regular diesel bus versus an EV bus, what does that price look like? And that's aside from the infrastructure. So I'm just trying to put it in the context of 102 buses.
I think Jen knows that answer.
Yeah, so currently our 66 passenger buses are in the realm of about $165,000. The gas diesel buses and the EV buses are anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000.
Okay.
Is that a Tesla or what is it?
Cost.
Excellent.
And that's not including the infrastructure, the charging infrastructure that would be necessary.
All right.
So is the grant specific to buying buses or is it, can you use it toward
There
starting
are
the
some
infrastructure?
components of charging infrastructure that could be attached to that funding.
Yeah.
For example, a particular charger would be included
Sure.
with that. But that just diminishes the amount that you can apply towards the purchase of the actual bus. So it's basically like lump sum funding that they're providing.
But you can't buy a bus unless you can charge it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got an outlet? You want to
I forget, did we pass this bus reserve motion yet?
Jeannie?
Yeah.
Bus reserve?
Yes. All right, excellent. All right.
That got us off on a tangent.
Important conversation. Mr. Dunn would be happy.
So moving on to the resolution to approve funding of workers' compensation reserve. Is there any questions or comments on that? Is there a motion to pass? Ms. Turner, is there a second? Ms. Steinbeck, all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Moving on to a resolution to approve funding of the employee benefit accrued liability reserve. Is EBLAR the?
Yes.
Excellent. Is there any questions or comments? All in favor, or is there a motion, Mr. Buno, for a motion second, Ms. Van Orten, and all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Moving on to tax certiorari, same thing. Any questions? No questions. Is there a motion to pass? Ms. O'Brien, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Moving on to a resolution to approve the Teachers Retirement Contribution Reserve Subfund. Is there questions or comments? No questions or comments. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Steinbeck, all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Moving on to intermunicipal, excuse my pronunciation, agreement for interscholastic hockey merger for 24-25. Is there any comments or questions? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Phillips, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor?
I just want to say, I think these mergers and allow kids to do sports and students to do sports across the communities is really a great idea. And I'd just like to see it grow.
More opportunities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm so sorry. I understand that the coaching is being done by North Colony, paid for, correct?
That's right.
Would they be going through a vetting system by us, or is that done exclusively by North Colony? And do we know what that system is?
They're hired, if it's the same, I'm going to ask Mr. Jones to help me with this. Mr. Jones, can you come up for a minute? They're hired by the North Colony School District. There's a collaborative process between the athletic directors regarding that process, but they actually work as an employee of the North Colony School District. If there are issues that need to be resolved, the athletic directors work together to resolve those issues. We're not really formally involved in the selection of the coach, though. Is that right, Mr. Jones?
Correct. The home district, North Colony School District, they do the hiring process. From there, we meet almost monthly, kind of in a Google Meet with the athletic directors, just to talk about how things are going. We invite the coach on to keep us informed on what's going on within the program.
Yeah, I just think it's imperative that we, are understanding that all the appropriate measures were done by North Colony. And I don't, if that's outlined and agreed upon, great. But can we just check whether our HR, Marissa, or someone check and make sure that whatever vetting process they use, whatever further coaching, that we are okay with it.
Sure, we can look into it. I
Since our
believe they're pretty
students
similar,
will
pretty
be
similar
around
to
these. Yeah,
some
thank
of the
you.
issues. But, yes, we will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Moving on to the boys swimming merger with Troy and CBA for the 2024-2025 winter season. Is there any questions or comments?
Same comment applies here.
I was
Can we
thinking
check?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Phillips, is all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Shared transportation contract with Averill Park. I think it's excellent that we're helping our neighbors get to where they have to go. Is there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Phillips, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor? All are in favor, motion passes. Now moving on to committee reports. This is on the board policy committee. Mr. Simons.
Yes, we had a board policy committee meeting yesterday. We're working to finalize the minutes of that meeting and we'll provide them to the board and the policy committee. Emily Steinbach from the board was present at the meeting, along with Mr. Cannon, myself, Michael Dodd, one of our attorneys who works with us on these policy areas, as well as some administrators that work with me in a SUNY Oswego statewide superintendent's development program that are doing a project on policy. We talked about recommended changes in policy 0115, which is student harassment, bullying prevention, and intervention. The recommendation of the attorneys was that because we had done extensive work on our code of conduct last year to include definitions of student harassment, bullying prevention, and intervention, that our policy be revised to remove the definitions, add a few other changes and revisions, and the committee supported those. So at the next board meeting, there will be a first reading of this policy. First reading provides the board with an opportunity to comment, or any member of the public to comment, and then we have a second reading at the next meeting. This is really the DASA policy, Dignity for All Students Act. It is a requirement in New York State to make sure that we have strategies in place within our schools for prevention, education, and intervention to prevent and intercede when issues of bullying, intimidation, and harassment occur. It's also one of the state categories for the report I shared with you at a previous meeting. Districts are obligated under this policy to respond to those issues, but also to have professional development for staff to recognize and respond effectively. And our professional development team has identified this as one of our areas for continued training, which we'll be providing. The second policy is a new policy that is required, recommended by the New York State School Boards Association, related to Title IX and sex non-discrimination within the school district. Marissa Cannon is our Title IX officer. Michael Dodd, our attorney, gave us a sample policy to take a look at. We need to complete that policy by providing Marissa's contact information where people can locate reporting forms and procedures for Title IX. One of the points that Mr. Dodd made as an attorney is that New York State's laws actually provide more relief for victims of this type of discrimination. For example, student than actual Title IX. There are more steps involved in Title IX to investigate and respond before you can, for example, move a student out of the school through a suspension or through some other method. So he pointed that out because, as people may come forward and have concerns about a particular issue, It's advisable, his recommendation is to see what can be accomplished through the DASSA policy and the state's regulations and laws as opposed to Title IX, because Title IX takes longer and is more common, and we might not be able to protect the victims as well as we would be under the state law. I thought it was an interesting conversation. I don't know if Emily, you have anything you want to add on the policy committee, those two topics, but it was a good briefing from our attorney.
Yeah, I thought it was a really effective and efficient meeting. I also thought, this Oswego consort, I don't know their official names, but it was great to, be a part of that meeting and hear from other, aspiring leaders across the state or our area. And it was really good conversations. And I think we have a great path forward on how to incorporate this and also streamline so that our code of conduct, will include, be more comprehensive. And so we don't have to have as many additional outside policies. And I think anytime we can streamline that and have a more comprehensive code of conduct is best.
Thank you. And the third policy area we looked at was fundraising. A board member brought forward concerns about fundraising. We do have a sample policy from the New York State School Boards Association. I'd like to get some input from our principals and some of our staff before I bring it forward. It's a policy that is similar to other districts. Right now, our only fundraising policy specifically is a very general paragraph that's probably 20 years old. I asked the attorney to review related policies. For example, we have a policy that is related to booster clubs. Our attorney is indicating that the law does not permit the school board or the school district to have oversight and control over the booster club's fundraising. However, in our fundraising policies, we can ensure that we communicate with the booster clubs whether or not we're going to accept the proceeds or the benefits that are given through the fundraising, but we have no authority over booster club fundraising, and that was a distinction that was made, but we do have the discretion to provide some communication and make sure that we are all on the same page regarding a fundraising activity the booster club might be doing, and they do a lot of fundraising activities that really help us, but we really can't put a set of rules in place for them. And then the other issue, other policy that we looked at was solicitation of students in school or advertising in schools. And, some things that we are prohibited from doing directly with students during the instructional day. And we'll be bringing revisions to all three of those policies back to the Board of Education for a first reading when we get some more input from our administrators and staff. I thought it was a good meeting. I appreciated the attorney's preparation. The administrators that I'm working with in this New York State Superintendent's Development Program have to do a policy analysis, and I've asked them to analyze the fundraising policy. So that's why they were included in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Jesse, I don't know if this is appropriate here, but I wanted to just raise that the Professional Development Committee has its first meeting the Monday of the NISBA conference, and I wasn't sure if we could entertain maybe rescheduling that since I think some of the members will.
I can take a look at that and reschedule.
Great,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Thank you, Mr. Stiles. Okay, moving on, there's no tabled motions. Is there any old business? Nothing? All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any questions or a need to pull out an item on the consent agenda? Or anyone want to discuss the item in particular? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. O'Brien, all in favor? All right, all are in favor. Motion passes. Moving on, there's not an addendum. Any new business? Mr. Buno?
Yeah, I know that the Board of Regents recently came out and maybe worth checking out. I think Mr. Simons will probably be involved in conversations with West Arboces, but they're really looking at information on regionalization. So if you have an opportunity to look at that, information, it really is a shift in how districts share services outside of just the BOCES and with each other. I think with the intent of what some things we're trying to do, you think about transportation, other services that can be shared by districts. We saw that example within the transportation for park and being able to do those kinds of things regionally. I don't think it's not about school merger, nothing like that, but more about those infrastructure pieces that are important because they are getting costly, and how can we do a better job, staffing issues, shortages, all those kinds of things that are impacting school districts significantly, and how we can better utilize our regional resources. I think that's important. It's not really new business, but I think, given what's happened in the last few weeks about school opening in Georgia, what happened in Bethlehem, I think that we have to be prepared for more conversations around safety, infrastructure, and SROs. And I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later as we get into school more. And, hopefully these things don't continue to happen, but if they do, I think we have to be aware. What we went through last year as a board, we had a lot of concerns from elementary level parents. Again, I think there's still information to understand the value and the impact of an SRO and other things you can do. But I think it's something that the board has to be prepared to have more conversations about, given the climate and what we've encountered. And, our kids are stuck in Bethlehem in a lockout or whatever it was, right? Lockdown. And they had a couple issues over there. So
on that
hard to believe
topic,
this is happening.
they arrived, just on that
Everything was
topic.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, they arrived safely home and everything is fine. But yeah, I wanted to just respond, Mike, when you mentioned initially school safety. I agree the topic of SROs is going to continue to come up, but we did have a meeting on Monday with our total administrative team and all of our law enforcement agencies that I have done either every other year. And we had the meeting here and we talked about our safety plan, new requirements for the safety plan. We talked about needs in terms of communication, coordination. We talked about access, building access for law enforcement, both physical and through the surveillance systems that we have. And just to make sure that we're all communicating. So it was a good meeting. All of our principals, all of our central office administrators, and each of the six law enforcement agencies that work with the districts, representatives from state troopers, East Greenbush Police, North Greenbush Police, Nassau, and I missed one? Skodak were there, and we had a good conversation.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that the school district and East Greenbush community has always been in the forefront of safety for many, many years, and always has taken it very, very seriously. Our parents and community members should realize how much we've invested in safety over the years, infrastructure, capital projects, personnel, and that they continue to lead the region, I think, and really have those conversations and those understandings with law enforcement, that cooperative effort internally and externally. So I appreciate that, but I think it's going to be more to come.
Mr. Simmons, to that point, as a new board member, because there have been preceding conversations that this will be a continuation of, is it possible to get kind of a summation of the conversations that have happened in recent years?
Specifically regarding SROs?
Regarding SROs. And
Sure.
Just so that if the conversation comes up again, we can be kind of up to speed on where the conversation has been.
We have some information from the budget process last year. We have some minutes of board meetings that we can share as a start.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I also want to comment too, I think it was very timely, Mr. Buno, speaking about regionalization and safety. I did want to just like, I think regionalization, I think all of them are important, but particularly regionalization in the sense of budget planning, when we're thinking about short-term, long-term, a lot of the pushes because there's an expectation of shorter funding coming from the state, and how could school districts work together to continue improving their academic quality in a tighter budget environment. So I think, it's important to have that long-term view on education quality. And I think when I think of safety and I think of regionalization, because of the budget constraint, I think of priorities and how to align with respect to budgeting. And I think, it's definitely a priority in our district. And I think we have to be intentional on how we move forward and approach it. But I think definitely when we think short-term and long-term planning, we should put these in our, but thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, if we're going to do this iteration of what the conversations have been around safety, I think that we should not just drill in on SROs. We've had many conversations, I think, about what safety means, what it means to what students, what does coming to school, showing up and feeling safe, what does that mean? And so I just want to make sure when we talk about school safety, we're not zeroing in on SROs. It's a larger discussion, and I think if we want to have that, great, but I just don't feel comfortable conflating school safety and SROs exclusively.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just say one other thing. I think, we live in an unfortunate time where this happens, and I would just be sort of curious to spend a little bit of time in thinking about the recovery and just how we communicate that and support our students and our faculty. I just think we can't not do that. And so I think the safety committee, kind of to Emily's point, it needs to be really kind of holistic thinking about what tragedy means for a district and how we make the right decisions under the most difficult circumstances. Yeah. And it's not just that SRO component or the initial safety. We have to really look holistically about our community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think that
I
goes
really
to
agree
the
with
work
that
that Roy has done with MTSS, right? Students.
Yeah.
Multi-tiered systems of support, the same kind of trauma could occur when these events happen, and the follow-up is important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a really good point.
All right, moving on to a public forum. Is there any comments for public forum? All right, moving on to the board forum. I'm gonna start on my right. Ms. Steinbeck, anything?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ms. Phillips? That's okay.
I'm good.
Ms. Turner? Nothing from me.
No, I just want to say I appreciate the comments this evening. Good turnout to hear, how the community is feeling, particularly the lacrosse community, and I want to thank them for coming this evening.
Yeah. Ms. Van Orden? All right. All right, moving on. Executive session. No executive session today. All right, so I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Turner?
Is that on camera?
All right, motion passes.
Okay.
Have a good one, everyone.